Hello everyone, and welcome to a little walkthrough of my UI. I'm gonna try and show you like the basics. If you want to really make this UI your own, you want to know how to do some basic configuration of essential add-ons and such. So this is roughly what you should see when you log in. You got the bars here and to the sides, but if your resolution is not this 2560 by 1440, which it likely isn't, then you'll probably need to go into advanced and then enable the UI scale and mess with that. And like one of these settings, like you can see, it makes it bigger and smaller. One of these settings will make it fit on a 1080p resolution display. So starting off, like most of all the things you see in the UI, the minimap, the chat, all these bars, they're handled by ElvUI, which is like it's not a compilation, it's more like a standalone UI replacement mod. And to enter that, you just write /EC for ElvUI config in your chat window, and that should bring up this. Here you can change a bunch of, like, this is just general settings, announcing interrupts and some stuff you might find handy every once in a while. Hard error text is pretty good, but this is handled by the plugin I use for ElvUI called Shadow and Light, which is able to hide error text and expand a bit on ElvUI's plentiful features by itself. Chat bubble style, this is like a pretty popular one that people ask me when they see the UIs. How do you get this to not have any backdrop or anything? The chat bubbles that appear over your head when you talk, well, that's this setting. Normally it's a skin backdrop or disable, which is the Blizzard standard ones, or I just remove the backdrop. Makes it a bit easier to see things, especially if people have annoying yellow macros for their abilities and whatnot. Like here you can change the texture of the UI. This only affects a few things though, but it doesn't affect like the unit frames and stuff you'd immediately expect a result on. You can also change the combat text font. The UI doesn't actually use combat text by default. I don't think it's necessary. It's usually just a lot of bloated info that doesn't actually, like, you can't use it to do better. So I left it out. In minimap, you can change some minimap settings. XP bar, you can change the XP bar when it's actually relevant. I'm on level 100 now, which is max level. Reputation, same thing. Thread, this is a thread bar you can install. It's pretty useless, don't use it. Class bar, this is the class bar is, what the fuck is the class bar? Okay, so as some classes you'll have this special class bar. I believe it's the I'm fairly sure it handles, like, if you're Moonkin, it handles Eclipse and stuff, but of course for hunters it's not really relevant. By the way, if you want to move anything in the UI, you gotta go to toggle anchors, and this might seem a bit overwhelming. You can use this to filter down like what you want to move. This is just some basic general stuff. Solo is like all your player, like your own stuff, so to speak. Party, raid stuff, raid frames, action bars, and so on. You can use this grid. You can adjust the grid size to, it just has to be, increments of 64, 128, 256. That'll probably overkill a bit. Basically, so you can align stuff perfectly and put it right in the middle for some symmetry there. Cooldown text, I've disabled this. Cooldown text is just a Blizzard standard option that you can mod with ElvUI. When you press an ability, it goes in cooldown and you get this text right there. I've disabled that. I use another add-on for it, which we'll see in a moment. Objective frame. This is the stuff that normally appears up here when you're in a battleground or like a relevant zone, when there's like objectives to capture or whatever. It'll appear up in this top. You can change how high, how tall it is, and where it's located and stuff like that. Enhanced friends list, that's just a thing I use for myself, really. It gives you this little counter for how many real ID friends you have. It's not updated to show the new cap of 200. So yeah, and it just makes it a little bit prettier, and stuff like that. So yeah. And okay, moving on to shadow and light. This is like, I haven't delved a lot into this. It can change a lot of cool things. You got these, like this thing you see down here with the text here. It's a data text bar, which is LVI feature in itself, but with shadow and light you can expand the features of that and add more bars and stuff like that, so you can have like all the info in the world. I try to keep it minimal, have really like relevant info down here, combat just to see how long we've been fighting, FPS, latency, see what's going on, and the clock because I gotta know when to sleep. Other than that, shadow and light has, a bunch of stuff. It's pretty overwhelming, honestly. Armory mode is some of the stuff that handles this crit, like it shows the enchants and stuff in a bit more cool way and at a glance, so you don't have to mouse over anything. I'm not sure. I think it might also show this item level thing, but I'm not sure about if that's just part of LV or not. Action bars. Well, you can change all the action bars here. Currently I only use 1, 2, and 3, and 4. The others are there, but they're sort of like, they're not used by the actual UI. You got 4 and 6 over here and 3 here, but 3 in my UI is just, it's just a mouse over bar. It's not visible. I like to use as many bars as I can to have as many binds as I can, but one of, like, for example, multi-shot doesn't have a cooldown, so there's no need to see its cooldown. So you might as well just tuck it on a hidden bar and just hide it away somewhere. Also, I can already see the cooldown of Ice Trap, and since it shares cooldown with Freezing Trap, I can bind that but hide the button, and I can just use Ice Trap to tell when Freezing Trap is also off cooldown because they share it. So just like trying to save space and only keep relevant stuff, except for Beast Law. But we gotta create some symmetry. It looks dumb if it's missing. Pet bar. It's not really relevant for marksmanship hunters, but it's this. It's the bar where you can change whether your pet is on passive or blah blah blah. It should appear when I do turn off mouse over, that is. And I can actually summon one of these pets I have. Yay, there we go. That's the pet bar. Okay, moving on to bags. You can mess with your bag settings here. There's a lot of stuff. I haven't messed a lot with it. Buffs and debuffs, you can change. You can change these up here. I like them where they are there. You can also put them on the left if you want to reload UI. I don't want to do that right now. Change the font, fix everything related to these buffs and the debuffs that appear underneath it, and the consolidated buffs over here. Chat. Okay, so yeah, besides the tab system where you create like a private spam, that's all done by Blizzard normally, so you can just go create a new window if you want. But the chat settings are like, you can make it ding when someone says your name or something reminiscent of your name. You can add timestamps. You can just do a bunch of chat related things and make it look pretty, and fix the, I believe you can also change the, no, the font is not changed here. The font size is changed down there, and I believe that, yes, this is the font. So I can change it to something else. The font I use in my UI it's actually called Expressway RG Bold. But I've done some fancy things to make this is like the Blizzard standard font for most things. And I've just changed the game with the fonts folder in your World of Warcraft folder, if you've installed this UI, to sort of change all instances of this font to Expressway to create a unified theme and have everything be sort of uniform. Data text I have showed you. You can, via the shadow and light plugin I have for LVI, you can add more of these bars, and you can put like all kinds of relevant and irrelevant shit on it. Like, it's pretty ridiculous actually what you can do. You can play around with that if you want. Let me just demonstrate on the minimap panel. If I can actually enable it. Yeah, minimap panels. Alright. So you get this little panel, and right now on the left it's showing backspace, but you can also make it show armor. So yeah, you get the idea. You can add whatever you want. Nameplates. Okay, so I like to keep these. These are the nameplates, are the things that appear above the enemy's heads. I like to keep them pretty big, especially when they're my target. I should probably actually buff this a bit, because often actually you want to see what's going on with you know, other targets, so you can kill shot or aim shot snipe them. Moving on to health bar. This is one of the main features of this UI that I think any marksmanship hunter should do, really. Basically, you have a scale of low health thing, and you make it a little bit wider, in my case 25% wider, and you make it a bit taller. And the low health threshold is 35%, which, as you might know, is when you can also kill shot. So it makes it more obvious when you can switch to targets and easy to click them in a crowd of mobs and stuff. And yeah, you can change anything else you want about nameplates, any buffs that appear, any, you know, small things. Under skins, this is not something you generally want to touch, but under add-on skins, when you install my UI at first, this scarlet thing down here will be like a black box. And I can't actually fix that in the download. So what you have to do to get it like me, where it's like practically invisible when it's not being in use, but you can still right click down here and mess with it. You want to disable the SCADA add-on skin here. You disable it, it's already disabled for me, and you just press reload UI up here, and that should fix it. Custom tweaks, so you can mess with this a bit, but I only use it for one thing, which is this cast bar text thing, which like normally with the LVI cast bars, this text showing what you're actually casting is like, it's not white, which is annoying, just looks dumb. It's like a beige color. So I literally only use this huge mod to fix that, as you can see. So yeah, that covers the LVI part of things, which is, you know, 90% of the UI pretty much. Next I want to go over some basic UI voodoo stuff, and I want to start by Ask Mr. Robot. If you use Ask Mr. Robot, it's a very good add-on to have. Basically, you can export this code, just Control-Alt-A, Control-C to copy it, and you can put it into the Ask Mr. Robot like gear optimizer. And you can also, via that, it basically tells Ask Mr. Robot everything that's in your bag, or bank, I believe. And it can, via the weights on their website, askmrrobot.com, it can tell you the best items you have available to you from your bags that you have. You can also, you know, do some more stuff, but I mean, I haven't messed a lot with this. You can also turn on auto login, but I used another add-on for that. Next is angry assignments. This is sort of guild specific. Essentially, it's this box you can place anywhere on your screen, and the raid leader can put text in it. So if you want to do, like, you might have seen it in some UI videos before, where they have like an on-screen display of a list of who's like supposed to soak first in the Gorfiend feast and stuff like that. Angry assignments is basically just to create that text box and put it somewhere on your screen and keep the assignments ready at any given point. Big Wigs is my my boss mod of choice. You can use whatever you want. I try to keep, I mean, sometimes you really want to look into the future. So I've disabled this emphasize bars, which is when, you know, it's urgent or whatever. I've disabled it. It doesn't exist for me. It never activates. Instead, I just have everything on the bars, and it goes downwards. So like stuff that's urgent is up top, and then it goes down with all of the fights timers. And this is because sometimes a possibility that comes in 30 seconds is just as relevant as the one coming in 5 seconds, because you want to prepare like a DPS cooldowns or whatever for an ad spawn, right? And it also helps with like keeping everything in check, and it's one less bar group to worry about. Auto loot plus, in case you're wondering, is basically just what it says on the tin right there. It improves the speed of Blizzard's auto looting. So if you loot something and its auto loot is on, it'll go very fast. It's just a little it doesn't really do much other than that. Camera max factor. Basically, when you log in, it basically does the maximum zoom camera distance macro every time. I don't know if this is relevant anymore. I think the in-game slider takes you to the max anyway, but you know, it's good to have. Collect me is not enabled right now. Basically, it's just like if you collect things, this thing can show you everything related to where you get those things and what you have collected and what you're missing and stuff like that. Cross-realm assist is okay. If you do /CIA, you'll bring up the cross-realm assist. Basically, lets you realm hop really fast. It has a catalog of like all the auto invite groups, or except only you can choose that here. All the groups that are available to you to join. So if I would just want to switch to another realm, if I click this, I'll switch to the Maelstrom. So it'll actually sign me up to a group, and you see I join a group, and now I find myself on Frostmane instead of Sylvanas. And it's very helpful when looking for rares or camping for stuff, because you could just indefinitely switch realms. Once you like have joined the same realms all the time, you can clear the history and stuff. Once you like feel like you've expended all its options. Alright. So the next is Exorcist raid tools. You can bring that up just by doing /ERT. And this has a bunch of pretty legit raiding stuff, especially for Comrock. You want to look for the boss mods thing here. So you can do some Comrock. You could do assignments for all the soaking positions with this, which is more for raid leader kind of thing, but I think every raider should have it so they can see it themselves. This is also like a Gorfiend display. It shows like how long it is till someone's got to be broken out, how much health they have. It's really helpful. Besides that, I can also show a shuttle or Iskar, you know, window. I usually know that of this, but it's good to know anyway. Close all boss mods, thank you. And if you pop in the ring in your group and you're wondering why you're suddenly saying Frodo, legendary ring, damage down here, that would be legendary ring. So send a message to the chat with the name of the player who used the legendary ring. This is mostly to inform my own raiders, and like everyone who's involved in the raid wants to know who popped the ring, especially if it was done at a bad point, so we know who to yell at. You can choose to disable this if your guildies don't appreciate it, but at least now you know how to do it. Alright, moving on, we got faster camera, which actually also does what it says on the tin. Basically, if you have this off, zooming in and out is kind of unresponsive. This makes it more responsive. It's more like you'll feel it immediately when you use it. Alright. Handy notes. I got a bunch of plugins for this just so you like have it all. Basically, it just shows you relevant stuff on the map. Good for finding Draenor treasures when leveling and stuff like that. Just a little add-on. Inspect fix. This does nothing you need to know about. It basically fixes some bugs when you inspect, like it doesn't load properly, and fixes it. Yeah, so pretty simple like that. NPC scan, you know, it's able to tell you if you know, a rare is nearby or something like that, and it can lead you to it and stuff like that. You know, you probably know NPC scan is a very popular add-on. Iskar assist is what I use as an alternative to Exorcist Raid Tool's own solution for you know, basically it just shows you a list of everyone in the raid, and it shows if they have a debuff, like the winds or the corruption, anything like that. And if you want to throw the ball to them, you just click them just once or twice, or how much you want. And I believe that this is very much preferable to doing it manually with the Mary Flame, mostly because if you have the winds and you know you're going to get the ball eventually, you can, while you're running and doing a DPS, you can just find another person with wins over in the list, and you can spam click that person. So as soon as the ball is thrown to you, it'll basically immediately be thrown away from you, which basically makes you as fast as it's humanly possible to like pass the ball on, which is pretty essential to that fight sometimes. Alright, moving on. Omni CC is what I use for this cooldown text that I told you about before. You can change, you know, when it shifts to minutes and seconds. I like to do that very early, because then you can see, like, I don't want to see, if there's 3 minutes 30 seconds remaining, I don't want to see 4 minutes, right? I want to see 3:30. It's still, you can time things better for the future and stuff like that. Tens of seconds, that's another thing. Like, you can be more precise with how you line up your rotation if you know what this number is exactly. So there, like, that lines up pretty perfectly with the end of the cast, right? It can camera shot right away. Useful for planning in advance. It also looks pretty cool. Besides that, we have Overachiever, which I guess it's not really something. It's just attached to the achievement frame, and it lets you search for achievements. So like long time, yeah, been waiting a long time for this cool achievement, and you can search for in the descriptions as well. Paste is. This one is rarely useful. Basically, you can do /paste space show, and you get this window. It basically allows you to paste a lot of. It basically allows you to create an unlimited macro. So you can, like, there's no limits to how much you can put in here, essentially. And it's very good when using the TomTom add-on, which basically lets you, with a command, enter coordinates for specific mobs or like things you want to visit when farming and stuff. And it's just generally good to have this add-on if you want to, you know, create huge macros or whatever. Postal is another add-on. It basically just adds, the most important thing it does is add this. Opens all your mail, puts it in your bag, done deal. Moving on to Premade Filter. I do a lot of Premade groups, so if we go into Trainer here, we can go up here, and this will expand the Premade Filter window. So you can set a difficulty, you can set what bosses must have been killed. So I want Manorath has to be killed. I want to set a minimum eye level. I don't want to join a bunch of scrubs, so let's say 25. Defeated, and you want to set like how many DPS must be in the group. So you don't want to join a group that's just been made, so you have to wait for it to be created. Okay, maybe I'm asking for a bit much, but maybe, yeah, you see, that's just a guild recruitment. But okay, let's drop it to 715. And here you can see all Hellfire Citadel heroic groups with a minimum eye level of 715 and with Manorath killed. You can play with this as you want, you probably get it. Raid checklist is this thing. It basically shows you what buffs are available to the raid, and if there's a blue flag, it means that you can bring that buff. I have them all because I'm a lone wolf hunter, so, and it can see that I'm a lone wolf hunter, so I can just pop any of these, and I'll have what I want. Blah, 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 pop stats, and I mean, ideally it'll show up, but apparently it doesn't. It does in a raid though, it works fine. And how many combat rests you have and stuff like that. See who provides it. It was especially good for when you're handling multiple pets, and you want to know which one to bring. But it's also helpful for knowing what lone wolf talent or ability to bring, I guess. Moving on to Stratafix, I guess. Stratafix is, I mean, it just fixes some basic Blizzard stuff. Basically, sometimes when you use Elvia and want to switch glyphs around, it just shits on itself and it doesn't let you do it. So you have to reload UI. It fixes it, essentially. Moving on to range display. Range display is what I have down here. And essentially, if I pick an enemy target, it shows me an approximate range indicator of how far I'm away. So I'm between 40 and 40 yards away. If I get a mastery up, which increases my shot range, I can actually reach it now, because the 45-yard range. If I move just outside 45-yard range, I can't, regardless of mastery, right? Makes sense. You can change any settings for that up in this here. You can change how it looks, how far up it is, like what layer of the UI it is, and if it looks how it's supposed to look. Yeah. Moving on to time to die, which is basically, I guess I can show you here. Okay, so look down here where my mouse is rotating. So when I start attacking this, or ideally it should show that, but it's not doing that. Alright. Okay, this one. So, yeah, this is a second, like it shows in seconds the approximate time for this target to die with the current DPS going on it. Of course that'll change a lot because, I mean, this one heals, I can't out DPS how much it heals, but in a boss fight it can show you if there's like 2 minutes till the boss is gonna die. And you can use that to strategically to your advantage with how you use your cooldowns, so specifically Stampede. If there's 40 seconds left, you basically always want to use Stampede to not lose anything. Moving on to the big one, and it's Rigorous. When I finished in combat, it should let me go into those settings. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of Rigorous here, but this is the DPS timers thing. This shows any and all relevant timers that you basically need for playing your anything. Well, Hunter mostly, but there's also some monk buffs in here. If you want to create your own, you can just right click one with like rapid fire, because we know that's a buff. If you want to make a buff one, you right click a buff and you say duplicate, and you can call it something else. You can call it like Ace's Sting of Death. Okay, and you want to track the buff on yourself, called Ace's Sting of Death. It doesn't sound like a buff, but it's totally legit. It doesn't really exist, but you can put in anything, and you can just, if you want to track another buff, you just duplicate one that also already exists, and you can put in another name. If you want to do the same with a debuff, you just pick one we know that's a debuff, target debuff, oops, and you put in another name. Makes sense. Other Rigors I have besides this DPS timer group is, you know, uncommon mythic relevant stuff like boss stuff. All bosses have this group of relevant Rigors for it. So Alchemon has, you know, the Doomfire debuff, the Allure of Flames cast, and stuff like that. All or even the Trash has a bit of stuff here, so you know roughly what to do. It's like an additional little boss mod, if you will. Besides that, I have this little trank shot indicator by Red Tusk. Basically, it shows you when there's a dispellable debuff, like a enrage effect or magic effect on the target that you can use trank shot with. This is my sniper training tracker. It consists of 2 bars tracking 2 separate buffs. You can probably guess out how it works. You know, I move and the sniper training thing logs. If I stop moving, it does the 3-second timer to get sniper training back up again. The resurrection monitor basically shows you who rests who and how many rests you have available and what's the cooldown on the next rest. And you know, this is just some, no, you always want to have cheetah active when you're out of combat, so this shows that. You should have the glyph on, by the way, the aspect of the cheetah glyph. This one is, you know, so you have your trap launcher on. Kind of sucks to forget that one. When a pet is dead, and you're not playing, oh fuck, and you're not playing any, oh shit, holy crap, that's a lot of damage. You know, and you're not playing marksmanship, which has no pen, of course, because this loads only with but it loads with marksmanship, but it only loads when it's actually supposed to. Right now it loads never, because I play marksmanship with Lone Wolf, and you can't select, like, this is so stupid. Ideally you'd want to use it with like marksmanship. If you use focusing shot, you never should, but if you do, and like beast mastery and survival, if you don't lose your Lone Wolf with that either. But as it stands, you can just set it to beast mastery only and load it like that. What a bunch of cunts. Besides that, this is my Thrill of the Hunt little tracker. It shows the stack count to the right and the timer on the icon itself. Focus firepower is not relevant anymore, but it might be in the future. Essentially, it's a pretty advanced one by Red Tusk and Alderana. And it shows you, if you have focus fire up, it shows you at how many stacks that focus fire was used, which is useful for lining up your next one or similar. Frenzy tracker is essentially the same thing, except it shows you like how many stacks of the frenzy buff you have. available for your next focus fire, but this only applies to the BM spec. General purpose is a durability low warning when you gotta repair. No augment, no flask, and no food. Only applies in raids, these ones, and not in combat, so they don't annoy you. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for how you want to set the UI up. You can use any of the add-ons and adjust them to your liking, especially the ElvUI ones. If you don't like how I set this up, you can change the unit frame settings in here for each one of the frames. You can make them very wide or very tall, any of that which you'd want. So yeah, I think that pretty much concludes it for this little UI tutorial thing. Thank you for using my UI, and I hope it'll bring you a lot of joy.